this lesson, we speak about some real cases of energy technologies for food utilization in use. We try to move from the theory to the practice and to understand if displaced people and the host community share the same conditions in terms of economy, education, etc. It is difficult to generalize, as displaced people live in very different situations. They are IDPs living in their home country or refugees living abroad. They are accommodated in camps or informal settlements, and their staying can be short, long, or potentially lifelong. It is also important to consider the phase of displacement, and in particular if they are still fleeing, they've just left their home, or they have been away for long and got used to live in a certain place. Indeed, the permanence in a certain place affects not only people's perception, that is how they see the world, the future, and what they want, but also the relation with the host community and the interactions in place. Host community is particularly important because it is a reference in terms of practices, economic activities, and available technologies. Obviously, the relation is usually as frequent and important as long the permanence of the host community is. At the very beginning of displacement, people think only how to survive, but as the displaced person feels to stay over the long run, the relation becomes more significant. It is clear that the geographical position of a certain settlement is very important. We have to distinguish between camps and informal settlements. Camps are usually located out of cities, that is in peri-urban or rural areas. Indeed, location is negotiated with local authorities. A wide space is required to accommodate a large number of people, and conflict with local citizens, in particular influential people living in urban areas, needs to be minimized. However, camps cannot be located in very remote areas, because logistics cannot be too complicated. Indeed, some supplies and services are usually provided by the local government or international organizations. On the contrary, informal settlements are set up without any planning, and so they can be established anywhere, including inside urban areas. They are more difficult to monitor, as they are usually far smaller, even if in some cases we can have a large concentration of displaced people in a small area. They can also be in very remote areas, especially when people feel unsafe and prefer not to have relations with the host community. Differences between urban and peri-urban areas are not very evident, in particular in countries with a high level of urbanization. Generally, in peri-urban areas, an informal settlement has more opportunities to be set up. However, livelihood and food security, as well as the access to network resources, differ across rural and urban areas. Also, the access to energy technologies is different. Indeed, technologies themselves are not equally available, and also the fuel or other inputs can be a challenge. Finally, regardless of the position, social integration is a key factor. When the host community starts feeling more involved and socially accepted, it has more business and work opportunities, and the access to resources and technologies is facilitated. Speaking the same language, having similar features and belonging to the same tribe or ethnic group facilitate integration, making this process for IDPs easier. However, in several cases, it is very difficult to see big differences between living conditions of displaced people and local poor. Indeed, this is the reason why in several countries local authorities want international support to be addressed to both of them. While such an approach can reduce the risk of conflict, the needs are different, as different is the reason why they are in the same place. Some displaced people are quite well integrated, with a job and living conditions similar to host community standard. In several countries, displaced community has stayed for years and will stay for long. In this country, situation is consolidating, and solutions should be well planned and aim at sustainability. Apart from short periods of acute crisis, the approach should be long-term, taking into consideration the needs of both host and hosted community, thus improving the relation and integration.